Hey guys, welcome back to the Gears and Tools channel. My name's Adam, your friendly Sasquatch, and today we are reviewing the Leatherman Bond. This is a new Leatherman that came out in April of 2021, and this is a pretty interesting multi-tool. It's kind of targeting the budget price category, but there's also some features about this multi-tool that are unique to this multi-tool that depending on where you live in the world might be a really compelling choice for you. So let's go ahead and dive into it. First up we have the sheath, and I like this sheath. It's a pretty sturdy sheath made of relatively thick nylon. Has a loop on the back for your belt, and then it's a snap button style sheath, which I prefer over the Velcro style sheaths that kind of get gunked up. These snap button sheaths are very rugged, reliable, and hold your tool securely. So to show you kind of how snug of a fit it is, we'll fold this tool up and we'll just go ahead and put it right in. I like to put it in nose first, where it's just a little bit easier to slip in. And as you can see, it's got plenty of room in there. It's not an overly tight fit, but it's definitely not coming out. It holds the multi-tool securely. Actually, let me leave this in here real quick. Here's my Leatherman Wave, and if we put it next to each other, they're basically identical. So they're probably using the same sheath for both of these tools. I'll go ahead and compare the Wave tool to the Bond, just so you can see the size difference, and then we're gonna focus on the Bond for the rest of the review. So on the right, we have the Wave, and on the left, we have the Bond itself. So as you can see, the length is almost identical, and the Wave is just a little bit thicker, and just by feeling it, the Wave is a couple ounces heavier. It's a much denser tool. So let's go ahead and look at the size and weight of this multi-tool, and then we'll go over the features it offers. The Leatherman Bond is 4 inches long, 1.13 inches wide, and 1/2 inch thick. So overall, a relatively small and compact package. And it's a relatively lightweight multi-tool, weighing in at 5.55 ounces, compared to the Leatherman Wave that I just showed you, which weighs in at 8.7. So for an everyday carry tool, this is going to be a nice lightweight option. Now while I have this tool out, I wanted to point out these two small holes. This is so you can attach a pocket clip accessory that's sold separately by Leatherman. Other than the mounting holes for the pocket clip, there are no other outside tools that are accessible on this tool. And that's partly by design. This tool is designed to be sold in most places of the world, and there are some countries where one-handed deployable tools are not allowed. And we'll see a couple other features that Leatherman has thought of to make sure that this multi-tool is compliant for basically everyone in the world, which is nice because there's a lot of countries in Europe, for example, that can't use other Leatherman products because they have locking blades or the blades are too long, things like that. So this is going to be a multi-tool that you can take anywhere in the country and probably most places in the world without worrying about it violating any of the local knife regulations, which a lot of the Leathermans do. So that's kind of one of the big benefits of this multi-tool. Opening it up, we have the pliers, and as you can see, it's a nice set of needle nose pliers. You know, kind of the rounded edges here, not the real blocky squared off edges like the Leatherman Surge. We have the needle nose pliers, the regular pliers here, regular wire cutters, which are pretty good sized on this tool, and then in there you can see the hardened wire cutter nook. There is no wire crimper on this tool. I think you probably could crimp some wire with the very tip, but there's no special wire crimper in the back of the plier heads like they let them in charge. So those are the pliers. They're not spring loaded, but they're easy to manipulate with one hand. They're not real stiff, but they're not overly sloppy either. So I like the pliers on this tool. It's you know, a classic set of Leatherman pliers, sturdy and robust. Just for comparison, I'm going to go ahead and get the Leatherman Wave out. Now this is the older Leatherman Wave that does not have the removable wire cutters, which I think is applicable for this comparison. You can see that the Wave and the Bond are basically the same size, and putting them side by side here, trying to align them as best as possible, they're basically the same thickness as well. So you essentially have a pair of Leatherman Wave pliers on the Leatherman Bond, which is awesome. The only downside is the newer Leatherman Waves do have removable wire cutters, but at this price point, I think that's one of the features they decided to do away with to help make this tool more affordable. And again, if Leatherman's trying to target the international market with this particular multi-tool, that's a really smart consideration, because some of these countries like Australia and some of the countries in Europe like Great Britain and stuff, the tariffs on knives and tools and stuff is pretty steep. So keeping the price point down is really important on something like this. So that's it for the pliers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the primary knife blade, which is the tool that most people are going to use most frequently on a tool like this, other than maybe the pliers. The knife blade comes out pretty easily, and I'm going to go ahead and close it up so you can easily see how this looks when using it. So it's a good sized knife. It's made of 420 HC steel, and it has a cutting length of 2.4 inches, or just a little bit under. It's a nice clip point design. It looks really nice. Looking at the back of the tool, you'll see that there's no locking button or liner lock for this knife blade, and that was intentional. Most of Leatherman's other products, like the Leatherman Wave, for example, have a liner lock or a lock on the back of the handle, enabling you to lock or unlock the tool. The Leatherman Bond does not have that, so this is not technically a locking knife, it's a slip joint. Again, this multi-tool is designed to be usable in jurisdictions where locking knives or one-handed deployable knives are not permitted. To close the knife, all you have to do is just hold the handle securely, and then you firmly, kind of slowly close the knife so it can snap shut. You do want to be a little bit careful, but it is a very stiff lock. It's it's not, I don't really feel like it's going to collapse on your hand when you're using it. They did a pretty good job making the locking mechanism on this compliant but very functional. That's the knife blade. I'm pretty happy with it overall. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other tools on the knife blade side. The other tools on the knife blade side of the Bond is a 3D Phillips head driver, and this is a really good Phillips driver. I like these over the two-dimensional kind of bit exchangers because you don't lose them, and they fit into most Phillips heads more securely than the 2D drivers. I also like that the shank on this driver is relatively long, allowing you to get into tight places with this multi-tool, even when it's in its closed configuration. And of course, we have the all-important can opener slash cap lifter, and in the nook here we have a set of wire strippers, which is a pretty handy tool to have. So that's it for the knife side. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tools on the other handle. And the first tool here is the file. And this file is serviceable, but there's a couple things I would have liked to see changed. However, I do understand the price point that Leatherman is working with here. This side is the cross hatch cut, and this side is the single hatch cut. Good for kind of metal filing and some light metal filing. On the bottom of the file, Leatherman did cross cut the edge, which is great for cutting small bar stock or cutting plastics and things like that. So you don't have a saw on this particular multi-tool, but the bottom of the file is cross cut, so you can cut harder materials if you need to. One thing I don't care for about this particular file is it does have a hole in the side of the file. And I know they did that for ease of pulling it out so your finger has something to grab onto. But the thing I don't like about that, if you're filing something small, the tip of it can get stuck in that hole. You kind of are limited to the lower half of the file because of that. So I understand why they did it. I would have preferred to have a nail nick or something like that in the tip of the file, but that's how they chose to design this particular tool. You also have a lanyard loop, which is nice because if you want to throw this in the bottom of a bag or something like that, you can just throw a piece of paracord on there and have a nice bright lanyard. There are 3 other tools in this half of the Leatherman Bond. Let's go ahead and put the file away and take a look at them. First up, we have the awl, which has a nice sharp edge on it and an eyelet for threading pieces of cord and stuff like that through like leather work or something like that. And a nice piercing tip for kind of starting drill bit starts and things like that. So I really like the awl design. And then you get 2 flathead screwdrivers. You have a large flathead screwdriver, and then you kind of have a longer medium flathead screwdriver. Both are going to be perfectly functional. The large flathead screwdriver I tend to use for opening things like paint cans and stuff like that, where the smaller flathead screwdriver comes to a little bit finer tip and works really well for driving fasteners and stuff like that. So I'm pretty happy with the tools on the Leatherman Bond. I do want to point out that there is no saw and there's no pair of scissors on this particular multi-tool. So if those are 2 features that you find yourself using frequently, this might not be the tool for you. That being said, I don't really know of any other multi-tools in this size category that meet the knife rules of Europe and other parts of the world, which is no one-handed deployability, the lack of a locking blade, and the fact that this knife is under 3 inches long. So that's kind of the trade-off. You have a very capable multi-tool that you can take anywhere you want, but you don't get the locking blade and stuff. All right, guys, that was my quick and dirty review of the Leatherman Bond. This kind of a high-level overview, the pros and cons of this tool. The pros are this is one of Leatherman's lower cost options. It's very affordable, and it's going to be a great fit for many people. The Leatherman Wave, which is kind of their flagship model, costs twice as much as this tool. So at this price point, it's a really good value. It does everything you really need it to. It's got a good set of pliers, the same size as the Leatherman Wave. It's got a good sized knife, and it has a file and a couple other features that you might use frequently. It's relatively lightweight, weighing in at 5.55 ounces, which is more than 3 ounces lighter than competitors such as the Leatherman Wave. So in the weight category, this is a really compelling option. Let's talk about a couple of the cons. As we talked about earlier, it doesn't have a locking blade and stuff like that, but we understand why Leatherman did that. One of the other cons I have is when you're using the pliers themselves, if you're really reaping on something, I've noticed that the edges of the handles kind of dig into your hand a little bit. That's pretty typical of a lot of multi-tools. It's not overly uncomfortable. You can see that Leatherman did roll the steel here to try and give you a little bit of a rolled lip here. So they didn't, completely neglect that category, but just something to be aware of. It does feel pretty sturdy. It's got a little bit of flex in there, but not bad, especially for a 5.55 ounce tool. So in summary, summary, here you really have a really nice tool. It's kind of modeled after the original Leatherman, which I really like. You still have a very capable set of pliers, which are the same size as the Leatherman Wave, and it's half the cost while maintaining all the same materials that more premium tools like the Leatherman Wave have. So you have 420 HC steel throughout the tool. It's not going to let you down. It's a good quality material. I see this being great for backpacking, camping, and everyday carry. It'd also be a great multi-tool to throw in your emergency pack, your grab-and-go bag, or just leave in the vehicle in case you get stuck on the side of the road. So overall, I think this multi-tool is a pretty big win for the price point and some of the features that they were trying to incorporate and make sure that this tool is accessible to more people. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button below. It helps the channel out a lot. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you're the first to be notified when I release new videos just like this one. Cheers!